booties for black girl nerds.
Miss Strong, I just adore the Southern fried charm that this has for everyone. It is so near and dear to my Louisiana heart. Why is she never the bearer of good news with all that sweetness that she has? It's
Whatever do
easy
you
to,
mean?
it's so easy to liken her to being bad, but we don't know because she's so Southern and so sweet. Where is she lying on the scale of bad?
I think that's the beauty of this show and this character. Who's really good? Who's really bad? How do we define that? What's their origin story? And since she's a brand new character, nobody knows Miss Minutes' origin story. So I think that makes her even more intriguing. And I love that in her exposition, she may be saying something dire or terrible, like, you could die, but she's saying it with a smile on her face. So it's this really funny juxtaposition. And I think it's been so brilliantly orchestrated by Kate Herron, Michael Waldron, and the team behind this show. I think everything's been so well fleshed out and so beautifully designed. I just love how they have this very vintage feel with very modern technology. It's just an amazing show, and it's been so much fun to be a part of.
It's been a lot of fun to watch. I mean, we're all anxiously awaiting.
So fun. I'm anxiously awaiting every Wednesday. I'm like, oh my God, because I didn't get to see the entire show. When I worked on the show, I got to watch each moment as I did it, but I didn't get to see the entire episode. So it's been really fun to watch it alongside all the fans.
Since you are in the booth and you're not acting with people, since it's animated and it's your voice, well, how are you performing in the booth? Do you have to get up and run and jump? Like, how much energy do you have when you bring life to a character like Miss Minutes? What are you doing?
That's a great question. If you ever watch an animated session, you don't see actors just standing at their mic. They're moving around within the parameters of the microphone. And with a character like Miss Minutes, if she's walking, I'll probably do some of the little physicalities with her to sort of feel into the moment. There hasn't been like crazy high energy for her where I felt like I had to jump up and down or run around for a little bit. But it's been more because it was already done and completed and I got to watch it. It was such a gift to be able to play off Tom or anyone else that I was working with, because they're already so keyed into these characters and they're so brilliant. Every nuance, every line, every moment's been done. So I got to play off them as if I were on set. They didn't have that, ability because I wasn't on set. So it is kind of like I was on set, being that I got to participate and respond in live time. So much of acting is listening and being in those moments. So I really got to do that while I was watching the show.
That's awesome. I would love to just sit back and watch you do this. You're no stranger to these types of projects. You've been in some wonderful projects, memorable projects. How do you continue to celebrate these types of wins? Because they're so secretive and you can't tell anybody, hey, I'm doing this cool Marvel gig. So how do you celebrate the win?
It is really hard, especially when you book something iconic and exciting, to not share it with everyone and not share the internet. You have to be really careful, like when you can respond to certain things. I figured I was safe to respond to this when the Miss Minutes Twitter said hi to me. I'm like, okay, I guess I'm allowed to respond now, because the internet was already abuzz and thinking it was me from the trailer. There was videos made that like, this is Tara Strong and here's why, and we know it's Tara Strong, but I wasn't allowed to comment yet. So it's hard, and I am the kind of human that gets excited about everything I book. I still love it so much, and so it's hard to keep that to yourself. But it's always fun. It's always exciting. I always have to audition for a new role. So I always get really happy when I book it. And with that said, I'm so happy with the fan response to her and this show. It's very tricky and risky to bring an animated character to an on-camera show, particularly one that's already so well established and beloved. So the fact that the fans have taken to her so quickly and loved her so quickly is very rewarding.
You bring up a good point about the sleuthing and the people figuring out that it was going to be in your series. How does that affect you when you see it? Like, damn, did somebody leak this story? Like, how does it affect you?
It makes me happy. There was one, I think, podcast. I'm so sorry if he sees this. I forget his name. That he's like, we interviewed her and we know that this is her. I guess they could feel it from the spirit, and that kind of made me happy. I try very hard to differentiate my character and make sure that there's subtleties that are not in any other world that I've done before. And I'm very conscientious about making sure there's no crossover. And I've been in sessions where people are like, this is a little boy, can you do Timmy Turner? I'm like, no, Timmy Turner already exists on The Very Odd Parents, so how can I make this different or or unique or sound completely like they're their own entity. And Miss Minutes was certainly something I've never done before. We've never seen a character like her before. And certainly I've done a Southern accent, but not a Southern accent of a character in this world on Loki that, delivers exposition with a smile on her face and telling you that you're going to die. It was like all these different things that sort of came together to create this pretty fantastic character.
I have enjoyed you, ma'am. You are so wonderfully talented and incredible. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thanks for having me.
Bye-bye. Richard, I'm so excited to talk to you because I'm so tickled by a tweet that you sent about your late father and him asking if you want to dress up in makeup and tights for the rest of your life. Yeah. I related to that so heartedly because my mother has no idea what I do for a living. She just does not get it.
Yeah, well, it's what I understood from what, unlike Tom Hiddleston's Loki, which he's the God of Mischief. What I loved about the old Loki script in episode 5 that I got to do is that he says he's the God of outcasts. And anybody who's been disenfranchised or felt not included or discriminated against or gender fluidly prejudiced against in whatever shape or form, I thought anybody who has been an outsider at any point in their life, and I certainly felt that and identify with that, that is part and parcel of this thing of my father saying to me, with a tongue in his cheek, when he was, I was 24, he was dying at 53, and he said, "Do you really want to spend your whole life dressed in tights and makeup?" And I said, "No, Dad, I'm not going to have to spend I may have a little wear makeup, but I won't have to be tights in every part." Well, Jeandra, here I sit before you talking about a part in green tights and makeup. So he was right.
There's no worse places to be wearing that than a Marvel film. These are big epic films. And with those costumes, there's so much hidden messages and imagery and hearkening back to the classic days of comics. When they presented the costume and the look to you, what did they tell you about the costume? Did they say, there's hidden meanings here or there? Or what did they tell you about it?
They told me about no hidden meanings, but because I was based very faithfully on Jack Kirby's original illustrations from the 60s, and I saw my head on the costume design they'd done, I had muscles, and I thought, great, finally, as I'm born without any, I'm going to be in a muscle suit. And I get to Atlanta, and I said, "Where's the muscle suit?" And they said, "No, you're not wearing a muscle suit. This is your costume." I said, No. There must be a muscle suit, but this is your drawing. And they said, "No, you have to rely on Loki magic." So I was very aggrieved and I still am, as you can tell. I long to have muscles. So
there's always Halloween. You put a little padding in there. They could lend it to you for Halloween. I
tried that. They wouldn't allow me to have them.
Now, what is interesting about classic Loki and when he's been introduced, the series and Marvel franchise in general still manages to introduce substantive characters. Even as we're getting to the end, we still get meaningful characters who are adding to the story. What does classic Loki bring to Tom Hiddleston's Loki and young Loki and alligator Loki that the others do not?
I think what I was just trying to explain before is that because he sees himself as the god of outcasts and has been in isolation on his planets for so long, he is prepared to make the ultimate sacrifice, sacrifice himself to Asgard, and he's willingly to give up his isolation to have contact with his brother again, knowing that he's going to be arrested by the TVA. And I think that means that he's been around so long that he knows the value of having a connection with another soul. So he's not in his mischief years. He's in his more reflective, I've had my time. I have to make the best and sacrifice myself for other people. So I think that's a great steer into the character that is not the God of Mischief that Tom is brilliant at playing.
It's wonderful. And along with that is these beautiful landscapes and all these epic places where you are shooting. How rigorous were those scenes where you guys are running from this thing that's pursuing you all, trying to end your days? What were those situations like for you to just run all out into the wild tundra like that?
because I had these very delicate little yellow boots, running around that terrain and hoping not to crack my ankles at my age, that was my main focus, and not to trip over my cape. So that's how I got through it.
Well, I think you won with that. Thank you, Richard, for your time. I'm a fan of the classic Loki, and I'm a fan.
Thank you, Jeandra.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye.
Better shake your booties for black girl nerves. Better shake your booties for black girl nerves.